Hey guys, what is going on? Hexlex here with another Master Duel video for you. In this one, we're going to be taking a look at another post-ban list deck. This one is going to be for our Adamancipator deck, which has changed a little bit more than our Tri-Brigade Zodiac one did. It's not like still too different than the other build, but there have been some fairly significant ways that this deck's build has just overall changed, and of course in turn the way that it plays. It's like I mentioned back in the, like it was so long ago, it was just yesterday, but when when we went over the new ban list build for our Tri-Brigade deck, I mentioned, like, I stressed the point, I feel, maybe a bit too much, but I stressed the point that, even though they were very minor changes on paper, they very much influenced the way the deck plays out. It's funny because Adamancipators had not quite the opposite, not fully the opposite, but it was definitely more like, yeah, we changed more cards on paper, but the way the deck plays actually isn't too different from the old quote-unquote build. Of course, we all know the updates are that we lost one copy of each Rocksies and Analyzer. I am still using the Prank-Kids engine for now. However, I have been, when I first saw the ban list, I thought, okay, the Prank-Kids engine is still far and away the best one, and I think it still might be, because Rocksies is just so, like, just the line is just so good. But I will say that I haven't been as reliant on the Prank-Kids line in my testing, now that I only have 2 copies of Rocksies, and I could easily see throwing in possibly like a different engine other than Prank-Kids. It would free up 3 extra decks, so it's 3 main deck slots and 2 extra deck slots. One thing I was kind of considering using was, let me see if I can, is it Auroradon? Yeah, here we go. Because I ran into an Adamancipator deck on ladder actually while I was climbing that was using a Mecha Phantom Beast Auroradon as well as Jet Synchron in their build, and that enabled them to do some pretty cool plays, and it's a pretty minimal card investment, 1 card in the main deck, 1 card in the extra, so who knows, if I decide that maybe the Prank-Kids just aren't coming up often enough now that Rocksies is at 2, and I want to try something else, I might move into Jet Synchron Auroradon. So kind of like with the Tri-Zoo list, I want to throw a bit of an asterisk that, like, yes, this is the deck profile for the new season, but because we're not actually in the new season yet at the time of recording this, this list is kind of subject to change depending on how the meta develops, right? So, with that said though, I do like a fair bit of the options that we've added here. I'll go through the list card by card and then we'll talk about some of the changes here. We've got a Dragon Buster Destruction Sword, 3 Maxx, 1 Mecha Phantom Beast O-Lion, 2 Doki Doki, 1 Prank-Kids Dropsies, 3 Adamancipator Seeker, 3 Adamancipator Researcher, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 1 Gigantes, 3 Koa'ki Mirror Guardian, 1 Revival Golem, 1 Tackle Crusader, 2 Prank-Kids Rocksies, 2 Adamancipator Analyzer, 3 Koa'ki Mirror Supplier, 3 Block Dragon, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 1 Foolish Burial, 1 Lightning Storm, 2 Called by the Grave, and then 2 Forbidden Droplet. Down here in the extra deck, we've got Adamancipator Risen Raptite, Borreload Savage Dragon, Adamancipator Risen Dragite, Baronne de Fleur, Gallant Granite, Link Spider, Prank-Kids Meow-Meow-Mu, Crystron Halqifibrax, Knightmare Phoenix, Prank-Kids Dodo-Doodle-Doo, IP Masquerena, Union Courier, Knightmare Unicorn, Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess, and then finally Access Code Talker. So yeah, the list hasn't changed again too much. It's only a few cards difference. One of the more notable cards that we have added is Foolish Burial. I really like this card actually as an extender, and I almost wish I would have played it. Beforehand, like before the list, or before the ban list hit, the quote-unquote ban list. You know what I mean? But honestly, I didn't really consider it essential, but now that we have, only 2 Rocksies and 2 Analyzer, we definitely need help establishing our plays. Especially with fewer level 4s means fewer opportunities to go into Gallant Granite. So the main reason I put Foolish in was to, send the Block Dragon and set that up for plays. But also, I was debating taking out Tackle Crusader, but then when I put in Foolish, I thought, oh, well, Tackle Crusader is very good with Foolish, still in order to, be used to deal with pesky Floodgate, be they back rows or monsters. The other thing I added was Revival Golem, which I haven't played this card up till this point, but I found, and it's funny, initially in this slot with Revival Golem, I was actually testing out a single crossout designator to maybe help protect our combos a bit. but I found there were a number of hands where I needed an extender and I had a Foolish Burial. So I decided to try the Revival Golem here. Again, it just turns Foolish, it adds more versatility into Foolish and turns it into an option to be used as an extender, which came up for me a couple of times where I wanted to use it as an extender but couldn't because I didn't have enough things to banish with the Block Dragon there. So yeah, I am actually liking the Revival Golem a bit. I mean, it hasn't really come up yet, but I just like having the option with the Foolish Burial. It just gives the card, multiple uses, and I very much like cards that have versatility. So just being able to use it for Block Dragon or Tackle Crusader or Revival Golem is just very, very nice. Now, there are other cards I could be using with it, something like maybe Rock Band Xeno Guitar. I actually did, look for room for it, but I ultimately decided the effect is just... It's a bit too, I wouldn't call it a win more card, but the effect is a bit win more. And what I mean by win more is that, the effect isn't really useful unless you're in a position where you're already comboing. And if you're already comboing uninterrupted, then you're usually doing just fine. So it's a good effect, I won't deny it, but I don't find it necessary. I don't find it necessary, and I don't find that it helps with unbricking hands or acting as an extender when other plays fall through. So that's why I decided not to include it in this build. There was another card I was going to talk about that I was thinking of. It wasn't Miracle Rupture, but no, I still don't think Miracle Rupture is that great of a card. I would always play a Foolish Burial before Miracle Rupture. I mean, unless you're going for a more budget build, obviously, then sure, Miracle Rupture might be fine, but like just the ability to send Block Dragon with Foolish, which Miracle Rupture can only send a level 4 or lower rock. So like in this build, it could really only send Tackle Crusader or Revival Golem for good plays. But the ability to Foolish Block Dragon is just such an important function of it that yeah, I would always play a Foolish if possible. If you have the craft points for it, I would always play a Foolish over any amount of Miracle Ruptures, and I just don't think Miracle Rupture is that great. I already talked a little bit about Crossout Designator, how I was playing a copy. I would still like to find room for 2 copies, ideally, but I would have to take out either the Droplets or like a Lightning Storm and something else, and I really like the Lightning Storm still as removal. This might still be a Harpy's Feather Duster at some point. I'm still a little bit on the fence about that. It's really close, but I do like the versatility of Lightning Storm. Droplets, even though Drytron is not projected, at least from what I've seen and what in my kind of my opinion, I don't think as many people are going to be playing Drytrons, but I'm still going to be playing the Droplets just because it's still such a good card just for breaking boards. Just because Drytrons aren't around as much doesn't mean there aren't other Omni-Negate monsters out there, such as Barons and Borreloads, The extra deck hasn't changed at all. I haven't really felt the need to change it. I still like Link Spider. This is one of the more flexible spots of the extra deck, this and Knightmare Phoenix. I have actually been considering putting in the Herald again, but I'd probably put it in over Knightmare Phoenix. I really, really like Link Spider. Just the ability to turn your O-Lion token into an Earth to use with Block Dragon, or to link away with into a Union Carrier with another Earth monster, or something like Access Code or Appaloosa that you can't use a token for, being able to turn that token into Link Spider. Like, it seems really niche and it looks really bad on paper, but it comes up so often. Like, it comes up often enough that it's kind of like Salamangreat, Almirage, and Tri-Brigade. That's honestly what I would compare Link Spider to. Like, on paper, you look at this card and you're like, why is this card this extra deck? It's not, like, really needed, right? But it does actually end up coming up quite a bit. What was I saying then about oh yeah, I was talking about Herald of the Arclight. Oh yeah, and then I remembered the other card I was thinking about possibly adding, which was a 3rd Doki Doki. With Rocksies and Analyzer going to 2, I like the idea of having Doki Doki around as another, like, potential combo opener, but of course Doki Doki suffers from a lot of the same problems that Rescue Cat does, which is that, like, just about every single hand trap in the game can stop it. And it's actually worse than Rescue Cat in that regard, because not only does it consume your normal summon, but you have to discard a card too in order to activate it. So if I was going to play 3 Doki Doki, I would also definitely want to play 2 Crossout Designators, I think. And at that point, it's like, what would I have to take out? I would have to take out, like, probably the Droplets and the Storm, or like maybe the Foolish and the Revival Golem and a Storm or something like that. And I don't know, that's still something that I could see myself doing, by the way, but I like I said, I like the versatility of Foolish, so I'm going to keep trying it out for now. But like I just, like I said, this build is kind of subject to change. It's like this is my post-ban list build, asterisk. The asterisk being, well, build subject to change. All right, let's see. Do I have anything else to say about this list or things that I wanted to include in it? Oh, another one I was kind of thinking about was a second Gigantes. It comes up from time to time, but I don't think it comes up quite often enough that I want to put it in. But I did actually consider it over the Revival Golem. Yeah, I'll just keep running with this build, I think, for a little while, and if we update it, we can just make another video about it. It's not that big of a deal. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look at some replays that I've got saved in order to show off this post-ban list build. Again, I just want to throw out again that these games are going to be from before the ban list actually drops. It was the 5th, the date that I played these games, so just want to make sure that's clear. Okay, let's go ahead and watch them now. Alright, so this first game we're going to look at is actually against Drytrons, like full power Drytrons, so this is kind of why I wanted to throw in that little, reminder that, hey, these games are from before the actual ban list drops, so just to, make sure that's absolutely clear. So our opponent does get to take the first turn, but fortunately we managed to open with both Nibiru and Droplet, so even though I see a Diviner right away to search for a Ben 10, I know what's going down. I'm actually not really too concerned here. Opponent's also going to Foolish and Adamancipator. Now, at this point, I actually do get a little bit more concerned that maybe they're going to be able to summon the Herald before 5 summons, but no, they're actually going to end up going for a more extended play. It's funny, if they had actually tried to go for the Herald here, I think they might have been successful in getting it online before I could Nibiru them, but I don't know how many negates they would have. Obviously, I don't know what their hand looks like, so this was probably still the best line here. So, yeah, opponent's going to then go into the Beatrice. And what did they end up sending here? I don't remember actually off the top of my head. Because it wasn't Eva. No, it was the Gamma. That's right. So then, yeah, they sent out the Gamma and the Adamancipator. Now, I'm actually going to Nibiru in response to this Ben 10 search, which is a little bit early, but just on the off chance that they end up grabbing Orange Herald here, I really can't have this Nibiru getting negated. And I feel pretty confident that I can just stop them here, especially based on how they were playing. Like, if a Drytron player leads by normal summoning the Diviner, they usually don't have, that great of a hand. So yep, they just set 2 back rows and then pass it back to me. We definitely love to see that. I'm going to lead off with the Guardian and then special the Researcher. I could sack the Guardian here, but I have the Called By, so I might as well just go ahead and use that. There was consideration here to save the Called By in case my opponent, their back rows were live and they went into a play next turn and had a Ben 10 or something. Called By is very, well, I guess by the time this video comes out it probably won't matter anymore, but when Ben 10 was at 3, Called By is a very good counter because you can banish a Ben 10, not only negate that one, but also ensure they can't use it anymore. But again, that's not really relevant anymore. So anyway, we're going to excavate with the Researcher, get the Supplier, add the Guardian, and then just go straight into the Raptite here for more excavating. There was consideration to go into Baron, but with the Raptite, we can potentially go for lethal here. And I really don't expect that my opponent's back row, they might have a Droplet or a Called By or something, but other than that, I don't expect too much disruption from my opponent here. So we've managed to hit a Seeker. That's obviously very good for us. We're then going to excavate with the Seeker, which that one does whiff, which, that sucks, but whatever. We still have good enough plays here. So we're going to summon the Halqifibrax in order to go into the O-Lion. Just kind of upgrading our board. From there, we then go into the level 8 Synchro. I'm going to go for a Dragite here. Even though I can't actually negate a spell or trap because they don't have a water monster in the grave, I do intend to bounce all their cards. They are going to Call By the O-Lion, which unfortunately does prevent me from actually having lethal this turn. If the O-Lion token had come out, I could have linked into a Knightmare Unicorn and then just gone for lethal this turn. But we're going to be just shy of it instead. But that's alright. Not a huge deal. Especially because we're going to bounce away our opponent's token and their back row back to their hand, and then just smack them directly. We've also got a Droplet in case our opponent starts to do anything too scary. I should have actually linked away I kind of thought about linking away into a Unicorn here just to get the water engrave, and that actually would have been a really good play. Instead, I was thinking I can just Droplet, send the Halqifibrax, and then negate a spell or a trap later, but it would have been really easy for my opponent to have a prep or something that would have made their plays live, and I think it would have just been better to have the water in the grave for the start of the opponent's turn. So in hindsight, I do think that was a slightly better play, but we end up taking the game either way. Alright, let's go ahead and watch the next one. Okay, this next game is going to be against Trap Tricks. We actually ended up playing in an unusually kind of controlling game against Trap Tricks here. Whereas, Adamancipator is normally like the combo wombo deck. Like I said, we take a bit more of a control aspect. And again, you can see we opened Nibiru and Droplet this game as well, so that definitely helps even though we're going second. Guys, that's just the secret to winning with Adamancipator. Just open your hand traps. But, it is actually another kind of vouch for why I think it's a good idea to play cards like Nibiru and Droplet. Especially Nibiru. I don't consider Nibiru to be a staple on a level that like things like Ash and C are, but I think it's closer than maybe most people suspect. Like, Trap Tricks is not a deck that you would immediately think like, oh, Nibiru is good against this, but I mean, they did 5 summons here, and Nibiru is going to end up being really, really good, as that terribly tired Tavier is not going to be able to stop us here. So, alright, we have a fairly solid hand ourselves here with Analyzer, Rocksies, and Researcher. Then, of course, we just drew Block Dragon on top of it because we're the luckiest player in the world. But our opponent's got Floodgate Trap Hole, which I'm going to go ahead and try to summon my Adamancipators here. And they've also got a Trap Tricks Trap Hole Nightmare, too. I didn't realize initially that you can't flip the monster back up with Floodgate, like, at all. I thought it was just, like, for the turn, so I was like, oh, I'm fine just letting my monster get flipped down for now. I'll just flip it up next turn and use it, but nope. That is one thing to be cautious of, is that, the monster, you can't flip it back up at all, so do be wary of that. My opponent's going to do that. They're going to summon the Murmillo and activate its effect here. I'm going to Droplet it and send the Block Dragon, because obviously it doesn't really matter whether Block Dragon is in hand or grave. I'll negate the Murmillo here just because my opponent only has one other card, so they do have the Vesiculo, or Vesiculo? I don't know how to pronounce that. They can set the Floodgate again, so there is that, but yeah, we're going to normal summon the Rocksies just to get the other Floodgate Trap Hole out of the way. Again, sucks that we're not able to flip up either of these monsters ever for the rest of the game, especially as the Adamancipator player, where oftentimes, it feels like 6 monster zones isn't even enough, but we'll make it work. Opponent's going to summon the Ecclesia and add the Negator. I don't remember the name off the top of my head. What is it? The Fluidless, that's right. So I'm going to go ahead and normal summon the Seeker here, and I'll activate its effect. My opponent's going to Ash it. Now, here's the thing. At this point, or after rather it gets negated, I was looking through my extra deck and I was like, well, I could go into Halqifibrax here, and that would actually set up enough Earths engraved for my Block Dragon to be live, which would let me have plays. But I also knew that they had the I already forgot the name, the Fluidless in their hand, so I knew that would negate the Halqifibrax, and I could still link away Block Dragon and Halqifibrax and get searches, but honestly, I thought it was just better just to immediately go into battle. I feel like I could do about equivalent amount of damage overall here. Well, and then also they wouldn't have the Fluidless up for me to have to battle over, so I'm like, I'm just going to battle here, and this will also keep them from negating me during the main phase 2. I can just go into much better plays. So now main phase 2, I'm going to go ahead and link away into the Halq here. And that's actually going to be enough for my opponent to then concede at this point, as they realize, yeah, they can summon the Fluidless, but they can't actually negate the Halq. I'm going to have lots of plays. And then I also have the Block Dragon live, which they knew about in the grave. I had one in hand and in grave, so they realized at that point that I've just got the win there. So, yeah. All right, let's go ahead and look at the next one. Okay, this next game we're going to watch here is against Maxx, of all things, which I think I've played against maybe one other time, but I don't know. So I don't really know too much about the deck. I know there's the Sigma, the level 12 Synchro that is unaffected by card effects, but I see that more in other decks as opposed to just Maxx. And yeah, it doesn't look like the opponent had a very good hand here as they just set a card and pass, and our hand's actually not that great either if you look at it. We're going to lead with the Analyzer, but our opponent's got the Ash Blossom, and we don't have any other follow-up. I don't know. I feel like I always open, not always, but this is definitely hyperbole, but it's very often that I open, not just 1, but 2 floodgates, either Buster Sword and Dropsies, or O-Lion and Dropsies, or your Buster Sword and O-Lion, but oh well, what can you do? There's the new Lightning Storm animation. Looks really cool. Opponent's going to use that to get rid of our Analyzer. Pretty smart on their part because, as you can see, we still don't really have anything. I'm actually going to set the Guardian here, and I wanted to stop and talk about this because that might seem like a really, really weird decision. Why wouldn't you set O-Lion? The reason I decided to set Guardian is because I could still have an extender that I could use to special. I could top Foolish and special the Revival Golem, and then still normal summon O-Lion, and then from there go into the Raptite. Whereas the Koa'ki Mirror Guardian isn't really useful by itself. you know, I don't even have another rock in hand to keep it live for now, so I'm just going to set it for the time being. If my opponent summons something and runs it over, whatever, it happens. But if they don't, then I can flip it some of the O-Line and go into Raptite that way. So that's why I made the decision to set the Guardian here. And opponent's hand is also still dead, as they said under their back row. I would comment about maybe it's the nature of Mathemax, but I mean, our hand is not too much more alive, so... we are able to flip up the Guardian and then some of the O-Line, like I mentioned, and now we can go into Adamancipator Risen Raptite. My opponent's back rows are a bit scary here. Yeah, we see here, they do have responses to like the O-Line, so I'm a bit concerned that maybe my Raptite might get negated and or even destroyed, but honestly, I still have to go for the play, right? Like, there's no way I can just, like, not play. You can't let, you know, back row stop you from making plays. If they have the response, they have it. If they don't, they don't. That's just how it is. But not making the play is always worse. And we hit a Seeker, and that's actually enough to get our opponent to concede. So, it looks like our hand got unbricked just enough to put a bit of fear on our opponent. And to be fair, that Seeker was probably enough. We could at the very least go into a Love Light Synchro, but I might have even just gone into Halqifibrax. Well, I guess I'd already just used the Alliance, so not Halq, but we had options, suffice it to say. Clearly more options than our opponent did there. All right, let's go ahead and look at the next one. Okay, this next game is going to be a pretty quick one against the mirror match. I just thought I wanted to throw it in just because I thought it was entertaining that we were able to take on a full-powered mirror match, and you know, we were still able to come out on top. So, wow, opponent gets this is 2 for 2 on Adamancipator videos where I'm like accidentally putting in all going second games. But yeah, opponent's gonna normal summon their Analyzer. We have the Maxx in response, and I mean, we're just the luckiest player in the world, so of course we open C and Ash, you know, in response to, or rather going second. Looks like opponent is playing Cross-Eye Designator in their deck. Oh, and this was actually a game when I was still playing Cross-Eye Designator in mine, but I kind of want to look at their lists for a second after this game and just see, like, how many crossouts they're playing and what all, like, maybe they're testing for the new list as well, I don't know. So, we can do that actually after this game. We can look at our opponent's deck list here and just see what's going on with it. Yeah, no, I do apologize. I forgot this was from the, this was actually one of the games here that made me realize, like, oh, you know, if I had Revival Golem, I could Foolish and summon the Revival Golem, and I'd have even more plays here. I think this was actually the game, now that I think about it, that made me decide to put in Revival Golem, which is kind of funny because the crossout was actually what won it for me here, as I was able to, you know, threaten to cross out my own Koa'ki or Guardian in order to negate theirs, which is kind of funny when a crossout comes up in the mirror match like that, so... but this was one of the games. I don't think this was the game. Thinking back, it was a different one. But this was one of the games that got me thinking, you know, if I didn't have the crossout and they resolved that Koa'ki or Guardian, this Foolish could have had an extender if I played Revival Golem. But real quick, I just want to see... Okay, so no, they were playing a current ban list. So this was another card that I've been thinking about a little bit lately, was Parallel Exceed. I'm actually glad we looked at my opponent's list so I could talk about this card a little bit. I think Parallel Exceed is potentially pretty good in this deck. I just need to do more research about, like, what combos it's potentially opens up and/or it's used for. So once I get a better feel of that, I might consider playing this card as well. I do see a fair amount of people saying that this card is kind of the way to go, so maybe the Parallel Exceeds could replace the Prank-Kids engine, who knows, but we will still do further testing to verify that. It looks like our opponent was playing 42 cards. In a deck like Adamancipator, I really don't think it's right to play more than 40 cards. There are some decks where it's like 41, 42, it's whatever. And I mean, honestly, even in Adamancipator, it's probably whatever, but I think this is one of the most important decks to keep it down to 40 so that your Excavates can consistently hit. But, yeah, okay, I just want to take a peek. I was curious to see. I guess technically, with the new ban list, you could just cut one of each of these and be 40 cards. But again, that's not really the right way to think about deck lists, right? We want to think about, like, restructuring the deck when we have to make significant changes like that. But, alright, whatever. Let's go ahead and move on to the next game. Okay, this is the last game we're going to be watching here today. This is going to be against Altergeist, which is actually one of my favorite pet decks that I haven't actually gotten back to in quite a while. I might have to make time for that this season, although I just found out how soon all the new cards are coming out. I think they'll be out by the time this video drops, so I'm going to be really busy with that. It kind of came out of nowhere, but not that I'm complaining too much or anything. It'll just be interesting to see this shakeup happening a lot sooner than I anticipated. It kind of, like, I don't know, it almost makes me feel like maybe these ban lists, like post-ban list decks are a little bit premature because the meta is going to shake up so much, but like I literally just found out they're coming out on the 9th, like actually it was even in the middle of when I was recording this video, so we'll see, but anyway, I'm going to go ahead and normal summon Doki Doki and try to activate. Of course, I do know my opponent has the Altergeist protocol, but I figure it's better to force it now as opposed to just like trying to play around it forever. And it's also going to enable me to have enough blocks for Block Dragon if I wanted, but blocks, I think I said blocks, enough rocks for Block Dragon. But I actually decided to summon the Gigantes instead. Because it required like less earth, like, you know, less graveyard commitments, and the effect to destroy all spell and traps could potentially come up here. Alright, so I'm going to normal summon Maxi. I think my opponent realizes that I'm going to, you know, try to make a play, so they respond with their own Maxi. But fortunately, I topped the call by, because again, yeah, you know, whatever, I'm just the luckiest player in the world. It is what it is. But we were able to negate their Maxi. Don't really mind, since we're not going to use ours for anything anyway, really. Not for its intended, quote-unquote, intended use anyway. I'm going to normal summon Knightmare Phoenix, and I'm actually specifically going to target this back row that they set last turn. The reason I'm going to do that is because, you know, when I summoned Gigantes and attacked with it, they didn't respond with this back row, so I don't think it's anything that's really going to be too threatening. I definitely want to blow away the back row I have less overall information about the one they just set. Sure enough, they do chain with infinite permanence, which is fairly good for me, you know, that's definitely not too bad. Definitely better to get out of the way now. And there's the imperm effect that I was talking about earlier, where, or not earlier, but in the, I mentioned in the updates where it highlights the whole column there. I say earlier because I just recorded that video earlier. Like, I'm recording this video right after I recorded the, you know, data mines and new update information from Master Duel, so... Opponent's going to respond with Altergeist Manifestation to this Block Dragon effect, but they're not able to protocol in response because protocol can't, you know, interrupt a chain. Like, you can't interrupt a chain link, so that's why they weren't able to use protocol to negate there. I am going to battle, but they do have the Conquery in order to negate the attack. A little bit annoying, but it's not the end of the world. My opponent's board isn't super threatening, and I have one of each Adamancipator tuner in hand, so that's definitely an ideal hand. Obviously, that's going to be an ideal hand for this deck. Opponent's going to link away into Hextia and then go ahead and battle into my Unicorn in order to get the Hextia effect, which will enable them to add the Amelia-Seek, which this line is actually pretty good on my opponent's part, given what they have and the board state. I think this was one of the better lines they could have done here, so... they're going to then use the Amelia-Seek to go into the Link Karibo. They then also get the Amelia-Seek Surge to add the Multi-Faker, which is, you know, obviously one of the main core engine cards to the whole Altergeist line. So we draw for turn, and we draw another Block Dragon. Opponent's going to flip up the Spoofing and then use the Multi-Faker in order to get the Silquitus. So between that and the Protocol, we do have some disruption to play through. I'm actually going to just lead by normal summoning Analyzer. Opponent's going to immediately respond to Silquitus, which I kind of expected, but that's fine. We'll go ahead and special the Block Dragon here, banishing everything but the Researcher, since if the Block Dragon's out, we can special the Researcher. I'm going to use the Researcher's effect, but opponent's going to negate and destroy it with Protocol. But that's what we want to see, both the Silquitus and the Protocol now out of the way. We don't have to fear combos, really, or not combos, disruption against our combos anymore this turn. I'm going to link in the access code because it's already, you know, close enough to lethal. I think I should be able to find it here. We'll then use the Block Dragon and access code at the same time. Of course, chain blocking the Block Dragon behind the access code. That way my opponent cannot respond to either effect. So we'll go ahead and add the Supplier, Researcher, and Seeker here. We're then going to use access code to blow up the Link Karibo, and then we can just summon back the Block Dragon for, as you can see, more than enough damage to do lethal, even if my opponent had been at 8,000. Alrighty, that's going to do it for the replay section here. Let's go ahead and move back to the deck profile, or the deck list, rather, itself. Okay, everybody, hope you enjoyed those games, as well as just the overall discussion about the post-BANLIST Adamancipator list here. This is one of the decks that I'm not really too sure where it's going to end up for certain. I think, well, here's the thing. With the old card pool, right, like... I was pretty certain it was going to be around tier 2, but again, mid-video, while I was recording this, I found out we're getting new cards, like, on May 9th, like, within a couple of days. So it's like, okay, At least I think that's right. Let me go ahead and just make sure I'm not talking out my ass here. But I saw, like, literally when I went to go show, like, move to the replays, I saw a new selection date available, May 9th, right? Like, yeah, so we're just getting it that soon. So that's going to be fun. I don't know. It's just, it's not that I'm not looking forward to it. I'm just a bit annoyed that it's coming, like, out of nowhere because it kind of throws off all these plans I had for, like, how I was going to structure videos for the upcoming week. But you know what? At least we have a lot more videos to show, which are going to be, of course, the new deck profiles. In any case, that's pretty much all I got for you for now. This is TechSlex. I'm going to be signing out. You know what? I'm going to restart that because that felt very rushed. I like to take the time at the end of each video to thank you all, of course, for watching, especially all the way to the very end. Of course, I'm appreciative if you are commenting and subscribing as well, but don't feel like you have to. I'm just glad you're along for the ride here with me. This wild ride that is Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, and believe me, it is a wild ride. I mean, I don't have to tell you guys. Alright, now without further ado, this is TechSlex, signing off, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day.